The 16 court cards, they're often the hardest part of the tarot deck for most people to understand. And I think that's a shame, because I think actually once you get to grips with them, they're the easiest. These cards represent 16 unique individuals. And one thing I can say, whether you consider yourself an introvert or quiet or shy, you have people skills. You can read and understand people at some level. So you can get these cards, but try to see them as 16 people. The second reason why I think people struggle with the court cards is because you can't understand one court card without comparing it to the others. And that's really key. I know a lot of people struggle between what's the difference between, and obviously this is the Druidcraft deck, between the Knight of Swords on his horse, really going for it, and the Knight of Wands. It's really hard to tell the difference unless you start to compare them. You've got to think about the suit. Wands is fire, inspiration, having a grand idea. Particularly look at this deck. Look at the horse. There's no feet on the ground. There's a little bit too much recklessness here. It's jumping in, and if you get the Knight of Wands and it's in a good position, it's definitely saying go for it, go for it, go for it. This is my both of these cards actually, my entrepreneur cards. But this is someone who's had an amazing idea and is giving up everything to go for it. This is that initial idea you've been planning for months. You're really excited. This is when you launch. This is the week when you give up everything just to go for it. The Knight of Swords is even more focused actually than the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is more like an inspired burst, a reckless jump, whereas the Knight of Swords, particularly in the Rider-Waite deck, the horse, look at the differences between the horse. This one has to wear a helmet. The Knight of Swords is so determined. I mean, just look at his face. Look at the speed of the grass. This is someone who gets up in the morning with one aim. Spends the entire day focused on that aim and goes to bed still thinking about it. Because whenever you see a sword in a card, it represents words, thoughts, mind, plan. This is somebody who is 100% focused on whatever it is that they want to achieve. And will basically, because you've got to think the horse is actually an extension of the person, in a symbolic point of view. He's going to put his family to one side. He's going to put the needs of his own body to one side. He is utterly determined. Now, that's a great thing. It's great to be like that, but not all the time. So in an ideal world, we can be all of these, and we can then, go away for the weekend and really connect with nature and be intuitive and find that inner peace within. And then Queen of Pentacles, maybe we go and spend some time with our family and do some real nurturing and connection. Maybe then you go out for a weekend with your friends, party girl, having a great time. Maybe at work you need to be the Queen of Swords. Maybe you're the person that needs to have people in the office and say it's just not working. Notice how the Queen of Swords isn't looking at you. It's because she's going to say her truth, whether it's going to upset you or not. Maybe at work you need to be the King of Swords. Maybe at work you need to be a little bit more compassionate. Notice the difference. The King of Swords is looking straight at you. His sword is to one side. If he's got something to say, he's going to be honest but compassionate. And he is aware that there's always more than one truth. There's your truth and my truth. Not the Queen of Swords. There's only her truth. See how she's holding the blade with her hand. She'll say her truth even if it cuts her and you. So I love the court cards. I think they're a wonderful, exciting resource. And I know a lot of people, the other thing people always ask me is, how do I know if a court card represents me, a person, or an event? Always read the court card first, looking at the psychology of the court card. And then let your intuition and the spread decide whether the court card is you, another person, or an event. And if you don't know, well, you've got a pack of tarot cards there. leave your spread out, leave the court card out, take the rest of the deck, shuffle, and whilst you're shuffling, ask yourself, what is this court card trying to say to me? So shuffle the rest of the deck, then put one card next to the court card, and that second card is clarifying. So if you don't know, ask your cards, but always start from the point of the psychology of the court card. So if I'd got the Knight of Pentacles, which I do a lot, in a reading, I would say, okay, so the Knight of Pentacles, he is methodical, he is steadfast, he is reliable, he's loyal, he pays attention to detail. And whilst I'm saying all of this in my mind and my eyes are gazing across the spread, I start to know, whether I'm reading for myself or a client, whether this fits the story of my client, or whether this refers to another person, or whether this is offering clear advice. If it was as easy as a checklist, when these two cards are together it means an action, when these two cards are together it means something's happening, then it would take all the mystery out of tarot. Tarot is about finding the story within the cards. And I argue the greatest story is to be found in the beautiful individual court cards.